Hey, Richard. You're muted. And I don't see you for some reason. I mean, I see you, but I don't see you on. I see you on the list. I just don't see an image of you up there in the top. Okay. Interesting. So how you doing, sir? Gotta unmute you if I can. For some reason, it won't let me unmute you, Richard. I don't know why.
Well, I'm not muted now, am I?
No, you're not. Now you're not muted. That's good. How are you doing?
Still here.
Okay. Well, that's good news.
Went to the skin doctor yesterday.
Yeah?
He must have gotten 10, 15 incipient skin cancers on my head.
Okay.
So it looked like I've been in a cat fight.
Yeah. So he was more or less collecting this pound of flesh from you, huh?
He started on top of the head and went to the toes.
Wow.
Too much sunshine as a kid.
Really? Yeah, I don't know.
I go every 3 months and he will get 10, 15 little skin cancers every time.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I've got some news for you. I have one of your paintings.
Which one?
One that you left here at Benson.
All right.
And would you like to get it back?
Sure, if you don't want it.
Well, we've taken all the artwork down off the walls, and they've been down for a while because they've come in, they've painted the place and cleaned it up and done all kinds of things to it. But I'm making an effort to try to get work back to people, so that it's not just sitting around.
I think we're making the effort. I might find some use for it for Christmas.
Yeah, you never know. Anyway, I'm going to be here, today, but I'm also going to be here tomorrow. Do you have any way that you could get up to the center? Just briefly. We're going to do it as a drive-through. I'm going to, you're going to let me know you're coming, and I'm going to meet you out there. And
Right, Benson Center.
Yeah.
I'll have to take it to wife. She knows when I'm going where on Friday and so forth.
Okay.
Or whenever.
All right. Well, just let me know.
When you going to be there? Tomorrow?
Yeah, I will be there. I'm probably going to get here no later than about 9:30 or 10. It's going to be annoying. Anyway.
Could you leave it at the front desk?
No, if you just let me know when you're leaving, I'll meet you out front and I'll just hand your artwork to you. That way you don't have to check in or anything. You just, drive by. But I'm planning on being here tomorrow as well. Hey, June. You're muted. You got to unmute yourself. There we go. How you doing, dear?
I'm okay. Still hang on here.
Okay. All right. Yeah. How do you like my new digs? I'm actually at the Benson Center in my office, in the studio.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
I'm using one of those big circular lamps, that shine light on you, so that you.
No, I didn't get in. I just every Tuesday morning I will go to the building C.
Mhm.
Yeah, for 1 hour volunteer job every Tuesday morning.
Okay. All right. Um, I was looking through the work here, and I don't think I've got anything of yours here, do I?
No,
No. Okay. Good.
I didn't do because a little bit busy, the church every year activity. I didn't do
Mhm.
much.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I've had work of yours up here before. I was kind of surprised I didn't have any in the back.
Yeah.
I went through it today, and most of it seems to be, you know,
Yeah, sorry,
but no,
I'm
no,
lazy.
no,
I'm
yeah,
lazy.
no, that's good. You have your artwork. See, I don't have to get it back to you. Now I've got Richard's. I think I've got a piece of Elon's. I'll have to go back and look. And then I don't
I
know.
didn't send any work.
No. I'm not talking about today. I'm talking about here at the Benson Center.
Oh,
Stuff that was up on the wall.
are we going back to
Oh.
the Benson Center?
No,
I-
but
okay.
but I'm here today and I'm here tomorrow. I'm going through all of
Oh,
the artwork here, trying to gather it up and figure out whose artwork I have, and then I'm trying to get back in touch with you, let you know that I have something of yours, so I can arrange to have you come by and get it.
oh. But I still have some like something have finished or not. We have the clear class.
Or the
I
clay
have
stuff?
something.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
haven't. You may have stuff in clay. I don't know. I haven't.
Yeah, I do have one.
Yeah, I haven't looked back there to see if everything's fired yet or not. But that's what I'm doing today and tomorrow. I'm trying to figure out what's here. And
Oh, I see. So the clear and the work we have to get it there from there.
mhm,
We have to come to get it.
yeah, if you want it. I mean, if you don't want it, then you just say, well, I don't want it. And,
I want it.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm trying to figure that out, right now as to what I have and what kind of state it's in. There may be some things back in the clay room that haven't been fired, and if that's the case, then I'm going to try to get everything fired, and at least to a state that I can get it back to people,
Okay.
so we can get it out of here, and you guys have it, so you can give it as a Christmas present or just hang out and look at it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Hi, Veronica. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, dear. Yeah. Okay. So you've heard what we've been talking about, which
Yeah, artwork that's at the center that needs to be returned. And so,
Do I have anything?
yes,
I do.
I have a bluebird that's there. That's clay that was in the display cabinet in the lobby.
Oh, okay. All
And
right.
then I have my first piece that is on a canvas of the young woman of color that we did. She had gold coppery hair.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I thought that was Linda's, but that's yours.
No, it's unfinished at this time, but yeah, it's mine.
Okay. All right.
I mean, I have a picture of it, of where I left off.
Mhm.
So I can send it so you know that we're
Yes.
talking about the same thing.
Okay. Yeah. Do that. Okay. You don't have to do it right now, but I mean,
Yeah,
do it maybe later this afternoon.
right. Okay.
And I'll check. Yeah, because
Okay.
like I said, I've been here today, and I've gathered everything up, as far as the paintings and things, and started going through them. And so
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out whose stuff is whose. Oddly enough, a lot of people don't write their name on, don't sign their pieces.
Right.
Like,
Well, mine was unfinished, so I wouldn't have signed it until it was done.
yeah, but I keep telling all of you to write your names on the back of it.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I used to do that all the time because I wouldn't know who to give it to
Yeah.
fix it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I kind of had a system, but yeah, I was really surprised. There was a lot of stuff out there that had no name on it whatsoever. But I kind of looked at it, I kind of figured out who did it, you know.
Oh, okay. But I'll still send it just in case.
Yeah, please. Yeah, that way I'm sure we're talking about the same piece.
Okay.
All right. Anyway, so here we are today. It's 2 o'clock, and we're going to do a little bit of looking at some artwork that you guys have sent in, and you know, we're still missing a couple of people. You know, John's here, Eloise is here finally.
Yeah, hello.
Lily's here. We're missing Bob, and he's got a bunch of work in there. Rebecca is here, and she's sending a bunch of stuff. So anyway, we're gonna dive right into it, and away we go. All right. Anybody got anything we need to cover before we get too far into this? Do we need to talk about anything? All right. All right. Well, I can think of one thing. One thing I want you to make your note, and I'll send out an email about this too. I just read an email this morning. The county, and this is from Fulton County, is shutting down art classes and all of the Zoom classes and stuff like that starting December the 20th. Okay. So the classes will go up to the 19th, and then the 20th onward. They're not doing any more Zoom classes. What they're having us do is, if we're not on vacation, then we've got to show up here to the centers, and we've got to clean them out and you know, start prepping them. In talking to Sabrina, there's some discussion, and nothing is set in stone yet, but you know, they're talking about bringing people back to the center in a limited basis and doing.
So is that close to after the new year? Or?
Yeah, after the new year.
Yeah.
Doing kind of like hybrid classes. So, like for example, if you wanted to do the painting mixed media class, you know, people could come into the center and be actually physically here in the studio, and you know, I'd be on the big TV, kind of giving instruction and stuff like that, but you guys would be working here if you want to, you know.
So will there be Zoom classes after the first of the year then, or not?
Oh yeah, no.
But this is just for the holiday period.
No. During the holiday period, we're ending classes on the point. Well, from the 20th onward, we won't have
Right.
Zoom classes till the beginning of the year.
Right.
After the beginning of the year, we're going to go back to Zoom classes. But along with like I'm sitting here talking to you now, you know, we could also have people sitting here in the very same studio that we're in now.
Super. Right.
You know, with paint and supplies and stuff like that, you know, painting, you know, if this was a painting class or a drawing class or whatever it was, you know. So, you know, and it's kind of limited. They would probably put like 5 or 6 people physically here in the classroom. And then the rest of you would be virtual, you know. Now, the other thing I also talked to Sabrina about that I'm rather motivated and want to do is from the very beginning of this, you know, I've talked to her about putting together kits, you know, like supply kits that I can get to all of you so that everybody has, you know, at least some basic supplies. And so that might be like, you know, 4 or 5 containers of acrylic paint in like the primary and secondary colors. You know, a couple of canvases, some different kinds of like drawing paper, things like that, and drawing media, like, you know, something like a ebony pencil and, you know, a Prismacolor pencil, you know, both in like a sepia color and a white, so that you can kind of experiment and play with things. And I'm talking to her about putting, you know, packages of that together that we can then get to you guys, either through doing like a drive-through. But you know, for people like Eloise and Bernice and people who live, you know, close to like the Darnell Center or something like that, we would send their packages down to the center that's close to them so that they could go by and pick it up, so that they wouldn't have to come all the way up to this end of town.
But speaking of supplies, Charles,
Mhm.
I've been trying to, I want to try that charcoal class too, but I've been trying to find that little kit that has the charcoal sticks from white all the way to dark. And I can find white and I can find the dark, but I can't find all the in between.
Are you talking about charcoal or are you talking about Conte?
It's charcoal, I think.
Yeah, no, it's charcoal doesn't come in a gradation.
Oh, okay.
That would either be a pastel or a Conte, more than likely. You can also buy pink kits like that, you know, that are like, you know, a grayscale, like either warm or cool grays, in either oil paint or acrylic. You can get them. A lot of portrait painters use those. But yeah, if you're talking about like the little box with, they kind of look like charcoal sticks, but they're actually Conte crayon. And
they're what kind of crayon?
Conte, C-O-N-T-E, with an accent in it.
Okay. Okay. That's why I might look. C-O-N-T-E. Okay.
Yeah, Conte.
Yeah.
And again, you know, a lot of people who do portraits and stuff use those because they've already got like a value scale set up. So, yeah, but most charcoal, you know, there's different grades of charcoal, you know, from what they call compressed charcoal, which is kind of hard and very dark. And then they've got vine charcoals and various types of vine charcoal that are softer or harder than each other. But the thing with vine charcoal, it's not usually used as a final medium. It's usually as a preliminary. You know, you kind of start a drawing or something with it, and then you go to a more permanent medium, you know, over it. Is how that's usually done.
The Conte is a harder than pastel, is it not?
It is a little bit. Yeah, it's got a different consistency.
No.
Too. Yeah, it's almost like working with fresh charcoal, which is very dark, you know. But you know, with the Conte, you know, you can have it from white to black, you know, and have like 8 to 10 steps in between pretty easily. So there's also another medium out there I should mention to you while we're talking about this. I think it's called sauce. Okay, you might want to write that one down. Okay.
How do you spell that?
Just like you would the word sauce. S-A-U-C-E.
I thought that's what you said.
Yeah. And it's.
You find a pencil.
Pardon?
Never mind. I was saying, you find a pen or a pencil.
Yeah, it's actually a medium that comes from Russia, is where it originated, and it's kind of the same thing, but it's not a Conte, and it's not a pastel, but it's real close to pastel. You know, it feels a lot like pastel, and you know, it has a bit of a chalky kind of feel to it, you know, when you're drawing with it. But it's nice. It's nice stuff. A lot of European and Russian portrait artists used it, and now it's available here. And I will say that usually, I think I bought a set of it, and I think it was around about $12 to $15 for the box. And it comes. The thing that's kind of confusing about it is that it's not, you know, it's not like you get a grayscale with it. It breaks it down to warmer, like a scale of warmer grays and a scale of cooler grays. So you get both warm and cool in it. And and it's usually like 5 values each, you know, so it's very dark. You know, one of the really darks on the warm side looks almost brownish, and then the on the cool side, it's kind of this almost kind of bluish, you know, gray color for the really, really dark value of it. But, you know, it's good stuff. So if you're looking for drawing materials and stuff, you can always play with those, right? Okay, so we got 9 people here. So let's get rolling. Let's start looking at stuff. And I'm going to start with, Rebecca sent this in. This should lighten the mood a little bit. It's an art, it's a little cartoon that she sent in out of the newspaper. And, you know, if you look at it, so, you know, you got the little guy there and he's reading his book, right? And try to figure out, you know, how to draw or paint a picture, right? And so then you go to the next scene and he's sitting there, you know, painting away. And then the next scene, you know, it looks like he's crawling into his canvas. None of you have ever done that, right? You've never gotten so close to your canvas that you got paint all over you, right?
Not yet.
Yeah, and then of course, you know, you see the next scene from a different angle. And, you know, he's working with you know, secrets of painting with depth. And, you know, there he is running down the road that he painted on his canvas. So pretty clever idea.
That's how we feel when we can't do anything else. We just crawl inside.
There we go. Yeah. Crawl inside your artwork, huh?
There you go.
Yeah, that's a deep psychological discussion, Rebecca. I don't know. But you know, I can see that. I do that sometimes when I'm not feeling good, stuff like that about the world. You know, I'll just go get my pencils out, kind of create my own world. You know, forget everybody else. Right? Okay, so then let's jump into the work that you guys submitted. So some of the stuff some of you would have seen already, but I'm going to go through it real quick anyway. I was thinking Bob was going to be here today, getting a little worried about him. Hadn't heard about him or heard from him. But he sent this in 2 days ago. Anyway, this is a Christmas card that he's working on. And looks like, you know, it's on like a watercolor paper. It's, you know, basically a cut card already. And then he's put his image on it. Looks like colored pencil maybe, and maybe some pen line. This is a little more complicated.
Powerful.
That's cool.
And it looks like this is more of a watercolor. And maybe some color pencil, maybe watercolor pencils, I don't know. Yeah. But again, you know, really charming. Be a nice holiday card. This is his painting of the young lady who sat for us over at his house. And so he's finally got that finished and framed. Looks good. You know, in looking back at what he had submitted earlier, you know, he's come back in and he's really softened these folds quite a bit. So the contrast in the value is a lot lower, and it generally feels softer and more like the fabric. So that was a good thing to do. He did the same thing with the folds, you know, on the settee in that kind of purple cloth. So that looks a lot softer, a little more natural, which is good. This is his bottle with the glass, and he left out the shell, so it looks like he started maybe putting it in. And you know, he didn't really take this to a finish, but you know, he got a really pretty good start on it. And I think this was about a 40-minute long drawing. So he covered a lot of ground. I'm not sure what this is. I mean, my guess is it's a fountain, and my other guess would be that it's like the fountain in Marietta Square.
That's his 3-minute.
Hmm?
That's his drawing for. That's the 15-minute stair drawing.
The 15. Oh. So this is his drawing from memory. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You know what's going on with him?
No, I texted him, so I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, usually he's here on Thursday, so. And he also did this truck, and it's got a wreath on it. So again, you know, I don't know if this is one of his ideas for a Christmas card. I don't, you know, I really don't have a lot of background on it. So if he were here, he could tell us. But it's, you know, it's a nice drawing of a truck. You know what it is. You know it's a Ford, and you know it's a big work truck. And then, well, okay, that's the truck at a different angle. Moving on, we got Claudia. This is her drawing from memory, and you know it's a Christmas ornament. I couldn't imagine that anybody would have any of those out right now, right? This is what she was drawing it, you know, from. She looked at this for, you know, 15, 20 minutes, figured it out, went away and drew that.
Cool.
So she got a lot of it, you know, down. We got the shape, general proportions, things like that. And it feels, you know, similar to this. So she remembered quite a bit of it. I made a comment the other day when I showed this at first that, you know, if I were doing the drawing, I would probably, rather than stop these wires that kind of go around the form, you know, I would keep going behind it. I would show part of this, you know, making that complete oval. And that would give you a sense of the three-dimensional form in there a little bit better. But, you know, other than that, wouldn't really change much to it. Then we have Mr. John Gigliotti. Okay.
I like that, John.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, it is. It's got a nice kind of wintry feel to it. There's a lot of nice things going on about this painting. You know, the scale of the figure in the tree being, you know, considerably larger than the house really gives you some depth in the painting. Also notice that the head of the person who is cutting down the tree is really kind of at about the right height, you know, right there at the horizon line. So, you know, that really helps, again, you know, force that house and then, you know, the landscape back behind it, you know, pushes it back quite a bit. So that was really nicely handled. And you said this is what, about a 9x12? Or
No, this is 12 by 16. It's larger.
12 by 6. Okay. All right. Somebody got a question. Somebody wanting to chat. Please close up the Oh, okay. Yeah. So Rebecca wants to look at the way you did the pine road.
It's just blobs of paint.
Yes, that's what paintings are. Blobs. But the way that you use the brush, you know, and
Yeah.
look, I mean, you got some of that feel of the texture, you know, in the you know, in the tree itself. So that worked out pretty well, Bob, or not Bob, but
Yeah, I did, John. I did the trunk and then some of the branches bare first, and then I got my greens and just sort of dabbled on the
Well
green.
done. Well done.
Thank you, thank you.
Well, working with that brush and, you know, using what we call a dry brush technique,
Yeah,
which is kind of what happened like right there. You know, that was a good solution because when the brush is real wet, it does something like that. It puts down kind of a blob of paint, right?
yeah,
Sitting there and the water's kind of floating around on the surface. When you're using a dry brush, the actual texture of the paper, you know, it helps break up some of the paint strokes so that it, you know, makes it have a texture to it, and which is what you wanted. You know,
I'm painting over what I did for my blocking, and if it's too wet, then it all blends together. So you got to keep it dry when you're painting over another watercolors.
right, yeah, yeah. When you're layering and kind
Right, yeah.
of trying to do a, you know, you can do a wet layer, but then you got to let it kind of dry out a bit, and then you can work what we call dry brush over it. Yeah. You see that a lot in, you know, artists like Andrew Wyeth uses that technique. You know, in painting, you know, if you're using oil or acrylic, you know, we basically call that scumbling, right?
Right.
It's a very similar process.
Stumbling?
Scumbling.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll look at
scumbling is kind of equivalent to dry brush in watercolor.
Hey, Charles.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. This is Soren. I finally got in.
Yay!
I had a hard time coming in.
You did?
Wow.
Okay.
Thank you.
Did it give you any particular reason why? Soren?
Sent me to what you call hold on a second, app or something. Won't you let me go in like I used to have able to?
Okay.
Anyway, I'll explain. I don't want to take too much of his time.
Okay.
But anyway, I figure out now how to get in after
Good.
tweaking like crazy.
Okay. All right. Yeah. We're glad
But
you.
I don't think you can see me still. I don't. My camera is not working.
No, I can't. And it doesn't give you the option to like turn your camera on or off. It's like you don't have one. It's like,
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah. Anyway, so we just won't get to see your smiling face. That's all. But we can hear you, so that's good. All right. Let's see. The other thing, John sent this in, and this is again watercolor, and it's you know, cloud, sky, kind of a shoreline sort of feel to it. And overall, you know, I mean, the way the paint went down, it's kind of nice. It's got a sense of depth to it. The only thing I guess it depends on what you wanted to do with it, John. But you know,
It's again winter, and I wanted it all to sort of blend in. That the divisions between land, sky, ice, water, snow, just sort of up to your imagination what you thought was what, but it just the different levels of winter with say the water frozen and icy at the beginning, and then going into the middle where it's actually flowing, and then the hills could be hills, or they could be clouds, or they could. So my idea was to just sort of make it all blend but distinctive.
The thing I would say is that it's like you've got an area here in the foreground. It's moving forward, which is fine. You know, that's where you want it. You know, it's coming forward. The sky seems to, at the same time, sort of start off and then move forward, kind of over your head. The only area that I kind of see it's not really an issue with, but that I think you could have maybe treated a little bit differently. And I'm reading this as a landmass, you know, and
Yes, right.
I hadn't really thought of it as maybe like some clouds or part of the sky, but it could be, you know, it could also be part of that. And it probably feels more like that now, just because the color of it is so similar to the rest of the colors in the sky.
Right.
It sort of ties into it. Now, if you wanted to make that a landmass, I guess my suggestion would have been, I would have thought about, it can have a feel for that blue or some of the blues that you used in the composition, but I would have still tried to gray that down and mute it a bit more. And if it were a little grayer, it would feel like it sits back a lot further.
I was actually gonna, when I initially started, there was gonna be like a definite landmass with trees and things like that. But as I did this, I just sort of liked it and give it to the eye of the beholder.
Okay. Yes.
Well, I took it that I was floating in the clouds.
You were floating in the clouds? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's where that picture takes me, like floating in the clouds.
Oh. Yeah.
It looks like a beach to me.
Yeah.
Beach and mountains.
Yeah, I get kind of landmass, water, more another landmass in the sky. But you know, it could be in here, all of that.
It's nice.
Yeah, Veronica could be off floating in the clouds. You know, we could be hanging out at a very cold, chilly beach. You know,
Yeah.
Like I said, if your intention was though that you really wanted to kind of make this like a landmass, you know, I would probably have grayed the color down a little bit more.
Yeah, I would have. I thought about that. I was going to make it more definite, and as I say, as I got to this stage, I just sort of thought, well, this is interesting. I like it the way it is, and that different, like we talked about. I think it was in here. You know, sometimes you get too much detail. You don't leave it to the imagination of the viewer.
Yeah, yeah, you cut off the conversation, right? Yeah, and that's true. Yeah.
That was my intention here.
Okay, all right. And then I got that.
Yeah, you didn't get my painting?
I didn't get the drawing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, I got the reference for it.
Yeah, that's the reference.
Yeah, but I didn't get the actual drawing. So
I can send it to you right now.
yeah, though I think I remember seeing it, you know, but it's not in the queue, so I'm gonna have to go back and look for
Yeah,
it.
I sent that yesterday and this today, or vice versa.
Okay, well maybe I just didn't get around to downloading.
Yeah, there were two.
At any rate, but
I can resend it.
Yeah, I think I can find it. I think I
Oh,
remember
okay.
it. I think
It's a third grade regression is what it ends up being.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I think I remember seeing the drawing. Yeah.
Yeah, it was quite crude.
Yeah, probably didn't get around to downloading it. But it's kind of an interesting thing to try to draw because of the transparency and stuff.
Yes.
And now you just drew just the glass object. You
The
didn't
glass
do-
object. Yeah, that's actually an ice bucket.
Yeah, and now this was supposed to be your drawing from memory, right?
But it's from memory, right?
Yeah, which is due on the 8th. Right?
The what?
Which is due on the 8th.
Yes,
8th
yes.
of September.
Right, correct.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I'm not going to pursue that one right now, since we're going to talk about that.
So, oh, yeah. Do you want me to send it anyway, or you got it?
No, I'll find it, and if I
Okay.
need it, I'll let you know.
All right.
Somebody who we haven't seen here in a long time sent some stuff in, and that's Naomi. And I can't quite. I think she's trying to put something down on the page to get it to lay flat so she can photograph it. I'm not quite sure what the things on the side are. But she's not here.
No.
She may have snuck in. Nope. We have Ilan. He's taking a nap. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So, but yeah, she sent this in. Maybe when she shows up, maybe we'll talk about it. And then we're going to talk a lot about Rebecca. Rebecca sent in a whole bunch of stuff. So we got a lot of ground to cover with her. So this is the bottle and the glass and the shell. Okay. And this is your. Now, did you just draw this? While we were online, or did you work on it later, or how did you get?
I drew the outline online and then added more of the color later.
Okay. All right. Okay. So here's the thing I'd say about this. You got the shapes and the proportions, and where things are in relationship to each other, in the right place. The thing that you seem to be missing is the contrast in the light and dark.
Okay.
Like the shadow that the bottle is casting on the wall. Overall, it was all pretty much so darker, right? And the same thing was happening here in the bottle. You had highlights on the surface that was tortoise, but you also had some, changes in tone and value, because when we're looking through this, in some places we're looking through glass that's very thick. In other places we're looking through it, where it's very thin. And so that changes, the value that you see in the glass. And there's a lot of subtlety in there that you can start looking for. Where is it lighter and darker? And not only where is it, it's like, why is it? Why is it darker here and not darker, over here? And, begin to figure that out.
Okay.
And it all has to do with, the angle that you're looking through the glass and how much glass you're actually looking through. Is it like one layer? Is it two layers? Like here on the side, right? You're looking through quite a bit of glass because you're looking at both sides, but also, this is all solid glass over here toward the edge. When you're looking in the center, well, your eye is seeing that front surface, and then you can see past it because there's another surface in behind it, right? But there's not a lot of glass in between, so the thickness isn't really that thick, and so there's usually more light there, and it's usually darker, as it gets to the edge. Normally, what happens? Different lighting conditions will change that.
Okay.
But just observing, what's going on there, and trying to use some of that subtle sort of change in value will give you a very different effect here and make it kind of feel more like it's got volume and it's three-dimensional. Okay.
Okay.
So, yeah. I love the fact that now this is your nephew.
Yes, the hairy one, the bearded one, is my nephew. And they caught that bird fell on top of him when they were out of town on Thanksgiving week. And my son is the one on the right who's pointing. And his name is Andrew, and the other is Taylor. And it was just so interesting that we were drawing herons, and then a heron fell out of the sky upon my nephew.
Yeah, I mean, what do you mean by just fell out of the sky? I mean,
literally, they were walking in the yard. There, of course, it's near the coast. It's on the coast. They were walking from the beach back up to the house, and that bird fell on my nephew. And they took it to rescue. The bird was injured, but they think that the reason that it was not flying well and fell out of the sky was because there's been an episode of a bacteria in the water called red tide.
Yeah, the red tide, yeah.
And the wildlife eats it, and the wildlife can't handle it, and they like fall out of the sky.
Yeah, they get sick, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of fish that are washing up on shore because of it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, particularly like the shallow water fish toward, close to the coast. and stuff. Deepwater fish aren't affected by it that much, but yeah, the ones along the coast are.
And of course, that's the habitat of the blue heron. He goes into the shallow water.
Right.
And if he was eating a lot of infected bad fish, then that affected him.
Yeah.
Who
Did
was
he,
it?
did he recover?
They took the bird to a wildlife refuge.
Right.
And I didn't get any more pictures than this. I was hoping that I would, but I didn't.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think it did survive. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm sure if they got it to that center, that they probably had something that they could give it.
Right.
You know, because it's a bacterial infection. So,
Right.
and they're treating a lot of animals with that right now. So, but yeah, sorry to hear that for that bird, but yeah, that's one of the things going on. So, here's your drawing of the heron, of which you did a very nice job. Looks like a heron, doesn't it? Oddly enough. Now, one of the things I would say, like the head, the neck, you know, all feel pretty proportional to most of the body, but the body, it's like the feathers back here, you know, the back seems to be sitting really high on it.
High? Too
Yeah.
high? Okay.
A little bit, you know. Now, I mean, he could have his head all scrunched down. They move. But yeah, the feel of it is just, yeah, it's a little kind of heavy in the body, and I
Okay.
probably would just kind of go with it.
All right.
Maybe just a little bit slimmer. But the length of the leg and generally the proportions overall work pretty well. Okay, not bad. And then we have this lovely thing. Now, is this your drawing from memory, or what's going on there?
Yes. That is a planter that's actually behind me here in the kitchen, the breakfast room, and the tall spike. I looked at it and then I went away, drew it, and then came back.
So is this a?
That's an amaryllis.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. It looked like an amaryllis. So, and then what kind of plants are these?
That's the beginning of a Christmas cactus. Excuse me, I'm gonna get the. Sorry, that's called a Christmas cactus, and that's all the farther I got drawing it.
Okay.
So behind the planter is a big window, and that's where the plants get so much sun.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And again, this is your drawing from memory, right?
Correct.
Okay. So you're going to try to do any more between now and the 8th?
Do I get a chance to look at it again, because the amaryllis is opened up entirely?
Okay. That could cause you more problems than you may want to tackle.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, if you want to look at it again, you can. It's fine. If you want to do more work on it. All right. And then you sent in some of these. And this is out of that book from Barbara Bradley, Drawing the Figure.
Correct.
Yeah. And I want you to notice something about this. Okay. Now, there was no color, you know, in these illustrations. And so, you know, it's all black and white. But I want you to look at where the light and where the shadow are. I'm going to yawn for some reason. I don't know why. And clearly, you know, in this case, you know, the light is coming in from the left, right, hitting really the front of the figure, and then the side of the figure is falling into shadow, right? Same thing with the side of her face and her neck. Everything is kind of in shadow on the right side of the figure. Same thing in the underarm, you know, the upper arm here. See, there's a cast shadow in there. Now, in your drawing, you decided to add color, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what you didn't do was you didn't create the kind of contrast between what's in light and what's in shadow. And
Okay.
if this was darker, right?
Okay.
Not on the skin test, but just here on the dress, and
Right.
see that whole side of that leg is darker, then this would look more three-dimensional. Okay. But reality is, if you squint down, the value is, there's a little bit of difference, but
Right.
it's real minimal. Okay. So yeah, my comment would be, really begin to push your values darker in here, and then it will begin to feel like you've got a side that's in light and a side that's in shadow. But yeah, you don't have that quite yet.
Okay. That's an easy fix.
Yeah, you just go darker. Particularly like you're like where the knee bends along the side of the hip and up, the rib cage. Just push those darks. And go back, refer to the original drawing about where you really saw the dark. And really, the darkest dark in there is really right here around the knee, right at the point of the knee,
Mm-hmm.
and then up the thigh. And so that's kind of your foreshadow, right in here. And then all the values over here, even though they're dark, they're generally not as dark as that foreshadow.
Okay.
I think we talked about that. And then here's the next page, and they're doing the collar and the folds in here. And then this was your drawing. And you got a pretty good feel for that. There's a little bit of difference in, you're not quite getting that triangular shape that she got in her drawing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's, okay. It's similar. Yeah, okay. So it's interesting that you're taking, you're doing the drawings out of the book. And one of the things I would encourage you to do is, rather than just trying to copy the drawing that she did, read it, understand the principle of it, but then try to do a drawing of something that you've got in your house, from actual life, so that you can actually look at it and see it, make some observations, and draw it, rather than trying to just copy the drawing. Okay?
So draw from life,
Mm-hmm.
using the principles that are in her book.
Right.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah, rather than just copy her book.
Right.
Because if you take what you read in the book and then you put it into practice in real life, with something that you have at your house, some of your own clothing, things like that,
Mm-hmm.
you'll get a lot more out of that.
Right.
In the long run, and it will stick with you. So, then we have this lovely one. Okay, kind of the same thing. You showed the example of what's in the book. I have a comment though. Yeah, there's the original drawing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Notice how the dress tapers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Smaller as it goes to the waist, right? And then in your drawing, somehow it doesn't do that. It looks like you put that dress on me, or on a male figure, because it's, there's no taper, to the waistline, and it's
Right.
the waistline very thick. So, it looks like I could be wearing that dress.
That was a challenge, and then after I was done, I looked back at it, and it was all one size. You can even tell that I've erased more folds off of this side,
Right.
trying to make it taper,
Right.
and didn't quite finish. So yeah, I definitely need to work on that one some more.
Yeah, but you know, the key here is it's a matter of observation. And again, you know, and I've said this before, and not just you, but you know, generally anybody learning how to draw. A lot of times, you know, we see things and we get caught up in the details of it. You know, oh, you know, that's a great belt buckle and all the folds and stuff like that. And we miss the big stuff, like the fact that, you know, if you really looked at the overall shape of that dress, you know, it's almost like a pyramid. You know, or cone. It tapers. You know, it's much wider at the base than it is, you know, at the waistline. And that's how women are, you know, generally tend to be built. You know, is that, you know, the hips, you know, are kind of broad, and then, you know, it tapers up to the waist. You know, you have smaller waistline. You know, now if you were doing like a Scottish guy in a kilt, well then, yeah, that's a little more like that.
Right. Right.
I'm just so impressed that Rebecca writes all the instruction down and everything. I gotta follow her lead.
Well, it's tedious, but I'm afraid that I will lose the book, but I'll know what it was the lady was trying to tell me to do if I write the details down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And it probably make it stick in your mind too, because you always, because you
right.
thinking as you
I
writing
have
that.
always done that, and it helps me remember when I go back through and review.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't really recommend doing that. Like I said, you know, I think reading the book, you know, getting the concept of it, and then finding something, you know, in your own life that does something similar, trying to draw from life, you know.
I was thinking just to repeat it as you copy it down, and make you remember what you're supposed to do, you know.
It sounds like teacher at school writing notes on my essay in the margin.
Yeah, but it's, and I'm not saying don't write your sketchbook. So, you know, in fact, just the opposite. You know, but rather than just copy out of the book, you know, draw it after you've gotten the concept, and then, you know, you can write a critique about what you think you got right, what you thought, you know, you could have done better at, you know.
Okay, that's great.
You know, and that's I think over time, that's a much more valuable thing to have for you.
Right.
Because then you can go back and go, oh yeah, you know, I kind of struggled with that last time I tried to draw something like that. And yeah, this is kind of the concept, the idea that you had in the book. And yeah, maybe I need to do some more drawings, you know, of that, and kind of set some things up so that you begin to understand it better. Okay?
Okay.
That would be my thought.
Okay.
For whatever that's worth. And then we have, speaking of Scotland and Ireland, this looks like a very Scottish kind of landscape. And you put some more paint on it. And so what's your thought about it now, Rebecca?
Well, I'm kind of stumped about the lighter part, trying to make the rocks look more like rocks instead of light green shrubbery.
Right. Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that, because it looks almost like you have a golf course out there. And you have roughs and greens,
right?
Other than the two bushes that are sitting next to the house.
Right.
Because those kind of, well, these two and this feel like it's kind of sitting up. These all kind of feel like they're laying down on the landscape.
Right.
And the thing is, you're right. You know, they really look more like part of the grass than they would a rock, because rocks generally are not green. Okay.
Do I need to gray them, make them more gray color?
Yeah, I would think so.
Okay.
You know, something more neutral. You know, and of course, there's all kinds of different grays. There's warmer grays, cooler grays.
Yeah.
You know, some of those grays do get a little bit green feeling, but generally, like a big. I think what they have. Well, is this in Scotland
I think actually it's Ireland.
or Ireland? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Generally, what they have there is they've got granite and they've got basalt. Okay.
Right.
Those are the two different types of rocks that they generally have. So some of them are kind of like whitish, kind of brownish, and others are, you know, like the granite is like really gray. You know, very kind of gray colored rock. But yeah, I think just getting them not being green will make them, you know, make them feel more like they're rocks. And it will also make them feel more like they're sitting kind of above or on top of the landscape rather than, you know, kind of laying down on it.
Okay. The picture that I copied is one that we have on our wall, very old, and we got it, you know, first couple years that we were married. And the green of the rocks in that picture are just light green. So I wanted to make mine look a little bit different to make them look more like rocks. So I plan to make them more gray and have more contrast.
So the picture that you have on your wall,
right?
Is it a painting? Is it a print? Is it a calendar? Is it, you know?
I'll go get it. It's right in the next room.
Anybody want to listen to the music while we're waiting? Da, 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 da. A little background music there. Let's see. Somebody came on. Somebody with a painting in front of them. Who is this? It doesn't say.
It's not Rebecca?
No. There was a painting. It was almost like an abstract.
Can you see that?
That was my background.
Okay.
Okay. It says it's an aquatint.
I don't
Charles,
see
it says it's an aquatint sketch etching.
Ah, okay. Yes. Well,
I can't see it. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's in her screen.
Yeah.
Right.
Rebecca? Oh,
Yes.
wait.
Rebecca.
I'm here.
Rebecca, talk.
Oh, it says it's from Great Britain Contemporary.
Hold it up and talk.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
This says it's from Brentano's from 1975.
Oh, okay.
Elisa Kennedy, Great Britain Contemporary, original aquatint and etching called The Point.
Okay. All right.
And we got it in New York.
Okay. So here's my comment about that, Rebecca.
Yeah.
You're copying somebody else's art.
Right.
Okay. And if you're going to do that, all right, I mean, you can use that as a source of inspiration. But here's what I want you to do. I'm going to send you on a quest.
Okay.
And your quest is to get on the internet, look for photographs of Ireland or Scotland.
Okay.
and even whales, for that matter of fact, because they have very kind of rocky landscape as well.
Okay.
But yes, go do your brief research on the British Isles and see if you can't find some fields with outcroppings of rocks and things coming out of it.
Right.
Okay, and then that will inform you as to possibly what color you might want to paint the rock.
Right.
You know, and
Idea.
it will also inform you on different styles of cottages and houses and things that are there, and you might be able to get some more information about, you know, the house you're trying to paint.
Okay.
You know, but using, you know, so basically you're using the original print as a source of inspiration and maybe for composition, but then
Right.
from there you're kind of beginning to make it your own.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I've looked at that for all of our adult life, and I like it. But it's hard to duplicate.
Right. Well, it's yeah, you're trying to duplicate it, you know, in a totally different process, because that's a printing process. It's done on a series of metal plates.
Like an etching, right?
Right. Yeah.
So that would account for why the rocks look like they've got a lot of green in them.
Right. Yeah, because they may have put down a background and then did an overprint.
Right.
With a different ink, you know, for the rocks themselves. And
Right.
you're seeing some of the green come through. Right.
It's been a lot of fun. It's been very interesting.
Okay. Hey, guess who just showed up?
Me.
Bob. Bob's here. Yay, Bob.
Hey,
Okay.
Bob.
All right. You doing okay?
I'm hanging in there.
Okay. Well, we're glad to see you. We already looked at your stuff, but I'll go back and look at it here in a little bit. But I'm getting ready to jump into some of the stuff that Surin did. And Surin, are you still here?
We know that it could potentially be dangerous. What we suspect
May I ask one final question, please?
Yes.
I want to do,
Yes, I'm still here.
Charles, I want to do this painting. I want to paint this photograph.
Okay.
What do I put down first on the canvas? What do I put down first?
What medium are you working in?
Acrylic.
Okay. So yeah, you could put down the color for the sky.
Right.
Yeah, and if you look at that, you could kind of start off with it had kind of an orangey feel.
Right.
And just do like a gradation all the way from the top to the bottom.
Okay.
Let that dry and then start putting in your other elements because it's kind of a silhouette.
Yes, it is. It's really a silhouette. Very good. Okay, thank you. I wanted to get started on that.
Here's the thing. Okay.
What?
Again, you know, it's nice that you're using that as a starting point. Okay. But don't just copy it.
No, I drew something much different. Actually, it's hard to draw all the details of that dock, and so I had to make it less complicated.
Okay. Yeah, you can simplify it then, the shapes and colors and stuff. But again, you know, look for ways of making it your own, and don't just copy.
Exactly. Yes. And it will definitely be different.
But that would be a good thing, actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. So let's go back to looking at artwork. Yeah. There we go. All right. So, Surin?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. So let's start talking about this young lady right here. This looks like maybe one of your granddaughters again?
No, there's nobody.
That's nobody.
Yeah, but the hand holding the iPhone is my wife's hand.
Oh, it's your right hand. Okay. All right. Well, you've got a kind of a nice sense of where the light's coming from in this. And so this is all just sort of made up, huh?
Not really. I had a reference photo, but quite different background. I had too busy background.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
But-
I have a question as to whether my background with all these little pagodas should be muted down.
Could be what?
What you call like toned down, muted.
Yeah, muted. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because yeah. Let's go. Okay, so when we start looking at this, you got a lot of things that work really nicely in this painting. You know, like for example, the perspective. You know, the stones. You know, they all kind of lead your eye back to the figure, right? And then the figure itself, you get kind of a nice flow and movement. You know, in the figure itself, and then of course you got what is she doing? You know, is she drinking a beer, an energy drink?
Yeah.
You know, is that a phone? We're not quite sure.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a phone. I need to maybe give more detail to it.
Yeah. The other thing is, you only gave her 3 fingers. Wow, wait a minute. Maybe that's a finger right there. Yeah.
No, well, I thought about that. You know, the index finger may be behind, but I can probably change that too.
Yeah. Yeah. Right now it looks like she's got 3 fingers. You know?
Yeah. Okay.
And in
I
fact,
need to add one more finger.
well, or maybe you need to slim these down a little bit so they're a little bit thinner. And you could get 4 fingers in there. Yeah, because like that finger right there is like really fat. That could actually be 2 fingers. You know, so if you just kind of connected them right in there.
You know, this is not a real big painting. I think it's 18 by 24, so I have to use smaller brushes for the detail, I guess.
Yeah. But you know, in answer, you know, getting back to your original question. So, you know, everything is taking you back, and even the scale of like the pagodas, you know, this being the smallest, draws your eye backwards, right? And we've talked about things like this quite often, actually. But one of the things that you do with your color is you have to start thinking about how am I going to get colors to receive, and how am I going to get colors to come forward, right? And when I'm looking at this, I'm looking in this area right here, and overall the color feels a little bit cooler and a little bit grayer than anything back here. You've actually got more intensity of the color, you know, in the middle ground and background. And that's generally not what happens in nature. You know, generally, because of atmospheric perspective, we would sort of expect that, you know, the color in here would become more muted. Okay?
Yeah.
And I'm talking about the greens, even the yellows. And the other thing is the pagoda that you painted, you made it a brown. And brown is a muted red, right? And, you know, if this were kind of a cooler gray, you know, and this were a cooler gray, they would sit further back.
Yeah.
But you see, they're the same basic color as the pagoda right here, which is really much closer to it. Okay? Now this one gets a little bit grayer and darker, and it's kind of competing, you know, between the two, but still, where you've got it drawn and where it's sitting in the landscape tells us it's further away. So it still sits behind this one, but you could probably gray that down a little bit, not quite so dark. And then these can get probably a little bit lighter and a little bit grayer. So that, again, you know, they sit further back. But yeah, just graying that area down will kind of push all of this back and give you a lot more depth. You know?
Yeah. What kind of color mixture would you recommend to get that
Well,
gray?
since you've already, well, since you're going to have a lot of green and stuff, I would probably just mix up a gray, you know, out of like a neutral. So if you want to use black, you could. If you want to mix a black, you could do that. and then add white to it, gray it down. Of course, you know, in some areas it's going to be a very light gray. In other areas it's going to be a darker gray because the value of like the plant life and stuff there be a bit darker in value. But mainly, yeah, just get it more neutral, and I think it will sit back.
You said black with white. How about if I am to avoid black? What option do I have?
Well, now what I said was you could mix yourself a black.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Right, and then add
Okay.
to it. Okay. I'm not talking about like Mars black out of the tube. I'm talking about, you know, take your red, yellow, and blue, and mix kind of a dark. Usually comes that kind of a dark gray.
Yeah.
And depending on whether you've got more red, more blue, or more yellow in there, will depend on the type of black that you're making. And then gray, you know, just lighten the value of that down. And then mix it with your green. Okay.
Now, while we are on the subject of black, I have a question for an upcoming mural I'm working on. People who commissioned me wanted to have kind of a monochrome effect on background, which is a mountain area. You know, look kind of grayish. But I'm
having a hard time hearing you.
Huh?
I'm having a hard time hearing you clearly.
Okay.
So what is your question?
The question is, I'm working on a large mural with mountainous background, mountains, okay? And they prefer a monotone approach.
Okay.
And the reference photo is almost like black and white.
Okay.
But I don't know, I'm not confident as to if I mix black with other color like blue and white and other, you know,
and see,
whether it might come out to be pretty flat or muddy or not.
Right. Yeah, and I wouldn't do that. You know, I wouldn't start with a black.
Okay.
You know, we've talked about this multiple times, but there's lots of different ways of mixing black, depending on the palette that you're using. But if I wanted to put something in the background, right? Let's say some distant mountains or something like that. One of the things that I might go to is I might use a green, like a sap green, and then I might use a green, like
green,
like sap green.
Okay.
And then rather than mix like a alizarin crimson or a permanent rose with it, which is a red, I would put a violet, like a dioxin violet with it, and you'll get something that's very close to kind of this bluish, kind of grayish black. And then I would make a range of values from that.
Green and violet.
Yeah, and the reason, well, and it's sap green. Okay, you know, use either a sap green or a permanent green. And the reason that you want to use one of those two is that they're very high in yellow, right?
Okay.
And what is yellow? Yellow is the direct complement to violet, right? And so when you start putting the two together, what do? They begin to neutralize each other.
And then you add white, right?
Yeah, once you get the mixture, a fairly dark mixture put together, then make a grayscale, you know, from light, you know, like light, middle tone, middle dark, dark. And that way, you have a full kind of range of value that you can work back there, but it's all very kind of neutralized color.
I experimented with black on my small study, and it seemed to be acceptable, you know, mixing black and blue and a little bit of red and white. You know, turns out to be not as bad, but I am concerned when I added more other combination to it, painting might look flat.
Yeah, and it might. You know, the impression is a lot of them eliminated black from their palette. And the reason that they did that, was because they wanted more control over creating blacks with different ranges of temperature and value. And so, by mixing them themselves, they kept the door open that they could make warmer and cooler versions of black.
Okay.
And I kind of follow that same tenet. Because if you're using black that you buy, out of a tube, generally what I find is that they have way, way, way too much glue in them, right? And so anything you add them into, it's going to put a lot of blue into that color, and you don't always get a really good effect. And as you said, adding that black into some of those colors can give you a very kind of muddy effect to it. So I try to avoid it by just mixing my own blacks. And one of the ones that I'll go to, particularly for things if I'm trying to create something that's in the background, is that green-violet combination. So,
So the bottom line is you can avoid black, do it, right?
yeah, you can. Yeah, you don't have to have it.
Yeah, okay.
It's not necessary by any means. And there are plenty of colors on the palette that are actual colors that you could use instead that will give you some temperature and vibrancy out of it that you're not going to get out of the black stuff. Okay.
Thanks.
So moving on, here's your mural.
Oh, that's outstanding. Wow.
Yeah. Now, where is this, sir?
It's near Emory University, up across from CDC.
Oh,
is
it in a restaurant?
Yeah, it's a restaurant.
Okay.
I think I sent you a picture of the restaurant.
Yeah, well, you sent me a picture of two guys installing it. Because you sent two.
Okay, and also the front of the restaurant. It's RITHAI is named C-Thai.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't get the front of the
But
restaurant.
you didn't? Okay. I'll resend it.
Yeah, anyway, here's kind of this is actually the left-hand side of the painting, which has got the main, temple, and then of course the, off into the distance.
Yeah.
And it works really pretty nicely. I mean, you've got some nice atmospheric distance in there. The scale of things as they get closer to you seem to be, appropriate. Overall, it turned out to be a really nice piece.
When people look up close, the paintings seem to look pretty crude, the detail. And I have trouble when I get closer.
Yeah, well, the thing is, it's not meant to be gotten close to. It's a mural. It kind of sets the mood in the room. It's not about the detail. It's about what does it look like. Overall, what's the effect? So going back and just looking for room itself. Hey, it looks like what you want it to look like. You've got nice depth, distance, you got a beautiful sky, with kind of a sunset, and a lot of distance in there. And all of that works pretty well. So,
Fantasy, or is it based on an actual place?
Yeah, this is an actual place.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, but I had to modify the scale quite a bit because the actual place is not as long horizontally.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of like a 8 feet by 45 feet scale.
Right.
So I had to manipulate quite a bit on the length of the painting. Although the actual temples okay, here's the reference, one of the reference.
Right. That's the actual temple.
Yeah. See how short it is compared to mine?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, but you did a nice job, of scaling that out and getting this kind of nice, very horizontal look to it.
Is it acrylic or oil?
It's actually a latex paint, house paint.
Okay.
But when I look up latex paint on Wikipedia, it take me to acrylic paint.
Mhm.
They say latex is really not what you call the quality of the
Yeah,
paint.
it's not
More
an
like
art quality paint. Right.
It's more like some kind of chemical they modify with. So they still call it acrylic, right?
Well, what they've done is you used to have oil paint, and then they came with water-based paint called lake paint, and it
Yeah.
had a particular plastic in it, but it wasn't acrylic. And then probably in the late 90s or mid to late 90s, all of those latex paints, they started making them in an acrylic latex version.
Yeah.
Okay.
So technically, if I call it acrylic on canvas, I'm not lying, right?
No, you're not. Though using latex paint like that, it doesn't have the light fastness that like your regular artist colors will have.
The light one,
It will fade.
it will fade.
It will. Yeah, all house paints will fade. Now, the good news is this is not a mural on the outside of a building, on a wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is actually hung indoors, so
Yes.
you don't have a lot of direct sunlight on it. And so it should do just fine there for quite a while.
Actually, I have two murals at my place, one outdoor, one indoor. The one outdoor does fade, okay, after 10 years.
Hmm?
The other one indoor, same time, 10 years, still intact.
Right.
No fading at all.
Because the sunlight's not affecting it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
But anyway, I put the protective coat, like the stuff you do industrially, instead of artist, what you call varnish.
Mhm.
At the beginning I was concerned, but the one I use at home 10 years later is still pretty good.
Yeah. Well, and again, if you keep them indoors and they're not in direct sunlight, then they're going to be okay. And the same thing is true with your artwork, at your house, even if you use like artistry colors, if it's sitting, say, in a hallway and there's a window directly across from it and direct sun comes in on it all the time, it's going to affect it. It's going to fade it.
So your protective coat won't change that, would it?
Well, you can now get what they call UV coatings, for your paintings. It will help. It won't totally prevent.
Okay, hey, Charles, I would like for you to tell me what kind of flaw or areas I can improve on if I will, do it correctly on this mural.
I'm having a hard time. What kind of areas you want me to do what?
Okay, what areas that you feel I could improve upon, or areas that are flawed?
You mean in the mural?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, overall, yeah, I don't really have any real problems with it. I think it works pretty well, the way it is. You've got a nice sense of depth in there. Probably the only thing that I would have probably thought about doing differently. Now, the pagoda itself, why is the color more intense on this one than here?
Yeah, because the real thing is much redder and darker than the one on the front.
Okay.
One on the front look more like lead color.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the one in the back look more like a reddish color.
Yeah, okay, I see. Yeah, from the reference, yeah. What are those? What are they covered in? Is this a metallic surface? Is this stone?
I think they use what you call mosaic.
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 Mm-hmm.
The one in the black, I'm in the back. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I looked up the detail. I have like 100 different pictures that I have to go through to find detail.
Yeah. To me, it looks like some kind of almost like metal.
Yeah, almost like metal. Yeah.
But yeah, but it is actually, yeah, in your reference, it is actually darker than the one in the back. Yeah. Yeah. So when I'm looking, really the part, I mean, it's darker in value, but it's like when you get to the shadow side, it gets cooler and it gets more muted. And then when I'm looking in the paint at the painting itself, yeah, you kind of get darker. Let's see. Where's that? I'm looking for the one. Yeah, you could have like maybe here on the shadow side, just cooled that off a little bit. And when I say cool it off, you know, you take at this point, you can take like a little bit of blue, you know, thin down, you know, as a glaze or a wash, and just kind of cool off the temperature in there a little bit, you know, so it's so warm. And that would probably help push it back a little bit as well. It's just, you know, kind of like a little tiny tweak to it. But again, you know, it's kind of like, that's like a really little thing. And it's like, you know, do you have to do that? No, because it already works. I mean,
Overall, does it look busy?
No, I don't think so. I mean, you know, again, what is it? You know, it's supposed to go inside of a restaurant, and it kind of sets the mood, you know, for the room. And no, it's kind of this nice, tranquil, you know, landscape that's back there in the back. And you know, and you again, you know, you pulled off that illusion of giving a lot of depth and distance in there. So yeah, it works, you know.
And you don't mind the right corner, the lower corner to be kind of rough looking, not unfinished looking?
No. No, I mean, these look like treetops or bushes or something that is.
No, I mean the right side, the right.
On the right side over here?
Yeah, that side.
Well, I can't really tell too much about it from here, but no, you know, it's not an area of interest in the painting, and it's just kind of a dark shape and color. You know, where my eye wants to go is it wants to go over here, you know, and then it wants to go over here. So kind of back and forth between the sunset and, and then the temple itself.
I have to tell you, the sky, I had a huge difficulty doing the sky. Because I, you know, try to make the color look kind of happy feeling with the sky, you know. And
yeah, well, you got a nice range of color in there, and again, you know, it kind of works in perspective because your clouds kind of feel like they're going, you know, over your head here, you know, and back to the horizon line. So it helps with that illusion of depth. So like I said, you did a really nice job at it. So.
Thanks.
What did you use to coat it with?
What?
What did you use to coat it with? You said you didn't use varnish, I think. What did you use? Anything?
What did I use? What?
Did you put some kind of final varnish or coat on this?
Oh, okay. I use the protective coat from Home Depot. I didn't use the artist's varnish. It's kind of like a waterproof.
So it's kind of like a sealer.
Yeah, kind of like a sealer, but it said crystal clear.
Right. Yeah.
I used to use Thompson waterproof sealer, but they discontinued that at Home Depot, and they recommended this brand to be more superior. But anyway, I use it. I can't afford to use acid quality because of the size. You know? This whole thing, even using the house paint, I think it already took me maybe 4 gallons of different mix and all that. I pre-mix like 20 plus colors.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, even, it took me 3-4 gallons.
Wow. That's beautiful.
Is it appropriate to ask what somebody would pay to have you do that? I'm just kidding.
Is it appropriate? If he wants,
what was the question? I'm sorry.
John wanted to ask, what, basically what is he charged to do something like that? So.
What? Okay, the owner chose the big picture, and then I make it fit the wall.
But yeah, John was. I think what John was asking is, are you basically being paid off and eating Thai food for the rest of your life?
Well, no, actually, they paid me in real money.
That's good.
But I didn't charge them a lot.
Well, that's
the
good.
people I know.
All right, that's a great project.
Hey, by the way, I'm gonna host a big party when the restaurant open to invite you all there.
Hey, I'm always up for eating. And over there by Emory University is a nice little neighborhood. So
yeah, it's a nice location.
Yeah, it is. All right. Anyway, we got to move on here because we're running out of time. But I wanted to look at this. Now, you had started a painting like this when you were at Benson. Is this the one that you started that you worked more on, or?
Yeah, this was the one I actually painted on location in Thailand, plein air. Okay. And then I just finished it recently because of the big mural. I kind of did a little practice Thai motif. So I thought I'm too tired of doing it, so I thought this is finished.
Well, from what I remember seeing this earlier on, I like the way it ended up. You've got some nice light and shadows in there, and your values are separated out really pretty nicely. And you still kept, quite a bit of color in it. So yeah, it turned out to be a really nice painting. So,
thank you.
Good work. All right. Okay, so is Susan Adair here? Anybody? Nope. Okay. All right. Is Wanda here? No Wanda? Anybody? All right. So guess who that leaves? If it's not Wanda, then that leaves Bob. Let's go back and to Bob. Tell us about your Christmas cards. You're muted, Bob.
Okay, now you can hear me.
And now we can.
I hope.
we can.
Just some watercolors and some ink that I'm just doing a few Christmas cards for some specific people. Okay. Just playing. And basically there's an artist that I like, it's Pete Buckley Moss, and trying to kind of use her style, very, very loose, very, very what's the word I'm thinking of? Stylized. type of drawings and paintings.
Okay. All right. Okay, now you said you're doing watercolor?
Yeah, watercolor and ink.
Okay.
And
this kind of looked almost like colored pencil to me, but
well, that too. Yes, I've got watercolor pencil too. Oh,
okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was seeing the grain and the tooth of the paper, and I was like, okay. All right. Yeah, you got a couple of these. You got this one. You got the sleigh with Santa.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And both of them turn out really nicely. Now, when when you're making these cards, did you buy sort of like the pre-cut card watercolor paper that you paint on, or did you?
Yes, the Strathmore. There was like a 50 blank card, I think, box that you could get. I got these a few years ago.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen those where you can buy the little, everything's cut and they've got the envelopes and everything, and all you have to
Correct.
Okay. Right, the message. Okay. All right. Are you going to have a message on them? Or are you going to do?
Well, if you open up, I have used my little printer, and it's got Merry Christmas, Happy New Year on the inside.
Oh, okay.
I mean, depending on who it's going to go to, I'll probably put a little note in there also.
Bob, I want
Yes.
to know. I want to know if on the top back of Santa's sleigh is a little angel or a doll.
Top of Santa's sleigh. Oh,
with the blue hat.
What would you like it to be?
I thought it was a little angel that had caught a ride.
Well, you could have that. That's okay.
Pretty cool.
All right. And then this is your final painting of.
Well, I've done a little bit more work on her face, and I've done a little bit since this was done. I've done a little bit more work on the cushion.
Can you tell me what you did to the face?
I'm sorry?
Can you tell me what you did to the face?
Okay, the eyebrows and eyelashes are better. I mean, they're kind of raggedy in the painting, and I fixed those.
Mm-hmm.
I worked on her hair to make it more a little darker where it needs to be, darker. Her lips, her chin, the shadow under her chin. I've cleaned up the lines around her nose. I've given her a little shadow underneath her nose and defined the nostril a little bit more. And her neck, I've got rid of the dark under her ears and made that flesh, so that it doesn't look like she's got shaggy hair under there. But I've cleaned up a lot of the lines around the face, and I had to use my magnifying glass to get in there to clean up those edges a lot.
So, did you do anything to separate?
Yes.
From the jawline?
Yes. I worked on that jawline.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess, take a picture of it, send it to me.
Okay.
Because really, when I looked at this, the only, it took me a while. And the only thing that I really wanted to pick at, or kind of see to be a little bit different was really right in this area right here. Because all of this generally worked pretty well. But then when you get here, it gets kind of cool and kind of gray, and then it gets real flat right across that neck.
Right. Yeah. That's what I thought too. So I've given she's a little more fleshy toned on her neck, and then I defined the shadow a little bit more, and then I put a little bit of a shadow almost all the way out to the end of her chin from her jawline. So try to make a little rounded there.
Okay. All right. The one thing I wanted to kind of point out to you, and really wanted to compliment you on overall. When I look at the folds in the fabric, on the kimono, things like that, they're all a lot softer, and they begin to feel more like the fabric. Okay. you know, before you had the contrast in there a little bit too high.
Mhm.
And so it generally just has taken on kind of a much softer feel to it, which is nice. You know, it helps kind of enhance the mood of the painting. It feels more appropriate that way. So, I mean, it's a nice painting. You know, you did a nice job. And then, you know, all the changes you were talking about, yeah, those are all things you could do that would help. Um, and so, you know, I kind of look forward to, you know, seeing the final image, kind of where it ended up at.
Yeah, and I've worked on her hand a lot. I didn't like the way it was set, and the size wise didn't seem quite appropriate. So I've kind of made it a little tiny bit bigger across where the knuckles are in her hand.
Okay. All right. Well, good. Send me an updated version.
I'll do that.
And then, you know, I talked a little bit about the bottle that you did with the glass. And, you know, this is beginning to take on kind of a nice, you know, a nice feel. And you haven't like worked and really overdone the outline. Most of this is really all tone and value. But it works really pretty well, you know, for the feeling of the reflection on the glass surface itself. You got a nice sense of volume in there. Really kind of the only thing I would make a comment on is that it, you know, you got to a certain point and you stopped and it doesn't quite look finished yet.
Oh, it's not. Oh, I've worked on it since I took this picture of it, and I don't know. We talked a couple 3 or 4 weeks ago about these Faber-Castell pencils,
yeah.
the flat. What do they call it? Yeah, the matte pencils.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you remember now. Anyway, so I tried to order them and they put me on back order. Well, finally I got them just the other day, and I'm starting to use those on this drawing to see how that works. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I'd be interested in seeing, you know, what the result is. You know, they got really good reviews. A lot of people really like them. So, and working with graphite, you know, the thing that people don't like about graphite is that graphite builds up and seals the paper, and then it gets real kind of slick and shiny feeling.
Mm-hmm. Well, so far this I mean, even the 14B, which is, you know, almost crumbly graphite, but it's pretty solid, and it doesn't. I haven't seen any shiny marks at all on it, which I'm happy to see.
Yeah. That'll make the work a lot easier to photograph. It will also make it a lot easier, you know, to look at when it's hanging on the wall. So, okay, good deal. Now, is this your drawing from memory?
Yes, this is memory. I went down to Marietta Square and sat on the little benches for 20 minutes, half an hour, looking at the fountain, and got accosted by 3 hobos wanting money.
Oh, of course.
Oh, no.
Of course. Yeah.
Hey, did you offer to paint their pictures?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I usually just take them across the street and buy them pizza.
Well, that's a good idea.
Well, I don't give money to anybody. You know.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna, you know, I'll buy you a meal, I'll buy you some coffee, I'll go buy you a pair of socks or shoes or gloves or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no money. You know, I've seen where that goes too often. And, okay. Well, it. You know, when I looked at it, I recognized that it was probably Marietta Square. You know, I mean, that's about the only place I've seen a fountain like that before. So you know, you did a nice job. You know, it's recognizable as what it is, and And you know, it's a good exercise. You know, the memory exercise.
It is. Well, what I noticed after I finished, I did take a picture of it, and I put the picture away until I finished this. And the only thing that really I got out of proportion was the top, not the top, but the middle basin there, and it doesn't have the little leaves kind of coming off of it. It's just kind of plain, and then the piece that goes between the second and third levels, that's a little different. But I did capture the little birds, I think, underneath. I remembered that one. So.
Well, yeah. I mean, looking at the proportion, you know, the height to the width proportion and stuff, it feels a lot like that fountain in Marietta Square. So, you know, I think you did a good job at it. Really good. Now, what's the story with the truck?
Well, that's going to be a Christmas card, and it's
okay.
kind of a joke,
a
little bit, but I have a stockbroker that I've had for long time, probably 30 years, and he posted a picture on Facebook, 6 months ago or so, of this truck, and I kind of was teasing him about it, and he got a little incensed about it. He says, "This is a great truck. It runs great." And then he was going on and on about how good the truck was. And I was giving him a little business. So basically, I've added a little reef in front, and basically, I'm putting this on a Christmas card. I'm going to send it to him.
Good.
But it's good representation. It's not bad at all.
Hey, it looks like an old Ford work truck. You know, not a pickup truck, but you know, like an actual like work truck, flatbed. Yeah.
But this was my study, trying to get I fixed or gonna fix the front wheel. That's really well out of proportion,
But you know, the thing is, it's like with drawings like that, and you know, the tires get kind of wonky and kind of funky and stuff. It kind of adds to the flavor of, you know, it's an old truck.
Yeah.
You know, it gives a lot of character to the drawing, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. You know, if this were going to be for an advertisement for NASCAR or something like that, then you might have to worry about being real precise about wheels and stuff. But you know, it's a drawing of an old funky truck. You know, so okay, it works. Great. All right. I think that's all we got. And it's about.
There's one more below it for the truck.
Yeah, but it's the same truck. It's just.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't recognize it on the side.
Yeah, I downloaded it twice.
Yeah. Hey, do you get pictures from me, Charles? I sent in the woman with the baby and the still life. I usually send it in a day of because otherwise I may forget it.
Yeah. I saw those. Hang on one sec. I can have that because I had un momento, por favor. And let me go digging around here.
Yeah, we did see him on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Did okay. Well, that's good. That's fine.
I thought.
I have to find them.
Well, they're not in the Tuesday. I moved everything from the Tuesday folder into the Thursday folder because a lot of the stuff we were going to look at again because you weren't here.
That's fine. You can skip them.
No, I want to look. Let's see. Eloise. I never throw anything away. Ever. You know. So let's see what we got from you. Oh, yeah, Photoshop off. Let's see. Somewhere down here, probably toward the bottom, would be my guess, but not. Okay. Let's do that. All right, let's see. Where did you go? There's the guy. We're talking about the mother and the child, right?
Yes, and the still life. I didn't send a bird in.
Yeah. Aha. Yeah, there's the mother-in-law. Now let's see, where's the still life? Close that up a little bit. Pull that over here to the desktop. And let's go find still life. Come on. There it is. Gotcha. All right, Eloise, we got you covered. So let me open up the window. There we go. And then get back to you guys. If it's not there. All right, where'd you go? Here you are. Here you go. All right, good. Let's do a little sharing here. All right, so yeah, I talked about these on
The 19th.
no, just Tuesday, Tuesday of this week. Yeah.
Yeah, I sent them.
Pardon?
It's okay. I sent them on the 19th right after class. I just checked my email. It's okay.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, I had them in there so we could talk about them just this last Tuesday. And so, yeah, in looking at them, yeah, I think I missed you a couple of times. So kind of what's going on, with the drawing is a lot of it works really nicely. You got the overall kind of movement of her figure. She's a little bit thick, where
Sure is. Wonder how that happened.
Well, we could talk about all kinds of theories about things like that. Like Rebecca putting a dress on me in her drawing, earlier today.
Not really.
Look more like my waistline than a woman. We draw what we know, right? Anyway, but yeah, she got a little bit thick in here. But the gesture of the arm, the relationship, between the mother's face and the child, all of that works really, really nicely. The only comment I would have as far as what you could do a little bit differently is I would kind of encourage you to, with the backgrounds, and areas like, down here in the shadow, take a little bit of time and blend those back and soften them. Don't leave them quite so streaky, because when you put a texture back there, it kind of competes, and it's very similar to what you did, here in the shadows on the arm. So it kind of flattens.
Oh,
you're back.
Yay, he came back.
Well, no, we didn't.
Maybe.
Wait, you're on mute.
Okay, hang on one second.
Now
Yeah,
he's back.
yeah, the Wi-Fi died.
Oh, no.
Well, it's plugged in, and it for some reason, even though it's plugged in, it like the battery kind of ran out of it. So I'm going to switch it to my phone and see if we can't, do that. All right. All right. Okay, so, yeah. All right. So can everybody see the drawing for Eloise?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
I can.
Okay.
I can see it.
Yay. Okay. And now I don't have to worry about the internet dying because I've got you on my hotspot on my phone. And so I have to figure out what's going on with this and why it's not recharging. Anyway, so as I was saying, basically in that background, if you could make it different, you know, from the texture that's actually on the figure itself, that would help separate it a little bit. And, you know, it's just a matter of taking a stump or a paper towel and your finger and just, you know, smoothing it back.
Okay.
But yeah, that would do a lot to help separate them and, you know, and not flatten out the drawing on it, okay? You know, as far as, you know, this is not a portrait, okay? You know, and it's what meant to be. You know, so, you know, do we have to have like a real set likeness of her face? No, you know, you don't. You know, you've got the idea and the characteristics that you have in her face, you know, suggest, you know, that she's Native American, you know, or maybe slightly Asian or something like that. You know, she doesn't look like a Caucasian woman. That's good. You know, you didn't want that. So all of that works really nicely. And the expression that she has on her face is, you know, really kind of nice. You know, it's very kind of calm. It's not, you know, stressed looking or anything like that. And the same with the child. So it all fits together really nicely. It's a nice drawing, you know, just on its own merits. And you know, the fact, you know, whether you made her a little bit more of a well-fed mother or, you know, a skinny mother, doesn't really matter. Though the overall effect, like I said, is you kind of lost that sort of arch in her back, you know, of carrying the weight, because she kind of feels a little more straight that way. So with your bottle, okay, now you got a lot further on your bottle than a lot of people. And so, again, you're using graphite, correct?
Yes, and I think I must, yeah, it was graphite. I'm trying to remember if I used any charcoal on that. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm kind of guessing it's graphite, but you know, looking at the way you know you use the eraser to kind of pull out that light and stuff, you know, that worked really well. You know, to pull that back. The thing is, you know, once you pulled it back, there would have been a bit of that line, you know, still going across there, because when you erased it out, you took that line out, and it almost makes it look like that shadow moves forward rather than sits behind the glass. So just kind of, you know, you just put, you know, kind of a faint little indication of an edge there. You know, as far as the values and the transitions across the glass itself, you know, you got in some basic values, but a lot of stuff happens in there. There's a lot of little subtle shapes where the glass is kind of refracting light in there, and you don't have a lot of that, you know, in there. You know, you're missing a lot of that structure and the information in the glass itself. So, you know, generally the idea is, you know, you've got the things there, and it's just a matter of trying to find the range of value and how they change, because they're not quite, you know, they're not quite as abrupt as the way that you portrayed them in the drawing right now. And so I'd say, did you just work on this like 30 minutes?
Yes, I just worked on it during class.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, if you learn to work on it longer, you know, you could pull some of that stuff out. Now, does it read as far as a bottle, a glass, a shell, and a shadow? And the answer is, for the most part, yeah, it does. You know, the shadow seems to be a little bit hard, and so it almost feels like a darker bottle behind it.
Mm-hmm.
That's where, you know, just going back and softening rubbing that back a little bit and blurring it would make it softer so that the objects here would kind of separate out away from it. Okay. And then, of course, your line along here, just cleaning little things up. I mean, you can do, any of that stuff. But, one, just leaving is the way that they are and softening that back would make the differentiation between what's shadow and what's actual physical. Do you need to go any further than that? No, not really. So, it's a good drawing exercise. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Anything anybody got anything else to say?
The shell looks like a rattle.
Yeah, you didn't quite get the shell. Yeah. Well, it's not that it looks so much like a rattle, is it kind of flattens out. It doesn't feel round. And it's something about the ellipse. You don't really kind of have that cone sort of feeling to it. Or the ellipse is moving around the way that it would. So yeah, you have to spend a little more time looking at that shell. But shells are hard. They really are, because you got perspective in them. You got, a cylindrical form. You've got all kinds of things going on in there. Anybody? Okay. All right. So we got Eloise's drawings. All right. I'm going to show you this. I probably will regret it, but I'm going to show it to you anyway. I did when I gave you guys that memory challenge thing, I took that on myself, and I wanted to do a drawing, and I thought about what is it that I could draw, what is it that I want to draw, and for some reason, the guy that basically started me off on this journey came to mind, and his name was Antonio Manni, who was he was the owner of the Columbus School of Art in Columbus, Georgia. And I hadn't seen Tony in over 50 years. And so I was just trying to remember, what he looked like. And, so I thought about it probably took me a couple of days, just trying to really remember, what he looked like and trying to remember things about him. And so what I did is I sat down with a sketchbook and I did this sketch of what I thought he looked like after not seeing him for over 50 years. So that's a drawing I came up with. And I remembered certain things about the structure of his face, his nose. He had a very Italian nose, very dark hair that was always kind of slicked back. And he was kind of a round, jovial looking guy. So anyway, this is the drawing that I did. And then I went to Google, a couple of days later, because I was kind of curious. It's like, okay, what does he really look like? And so I started looking for him on Google, and I found this picture, which is a press photo of him. From like what is this? Yeah, this is 1959. Now, I didn't know him in 59. I knew him around about, 65 through about 67 or 68. And is when I took classes from him. But these are some press photos that I found online of him. That kind of gives you a feel for what he looks like. And this is I actually remember when this photo was taken, you know, that day. And I can tell you a lot about it. It was actually in Hamilton, is the name of the town. And they had a art show. It was called Hamilton on the Square. And I had been taking classes with Tony for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. And he told me about the show, and he was here. He was doing like little portrait sketches for about $20 a piece, you know, of these kids. And on this screen right over here, if you could go further to the left, you know, I had artwork hung up there, and I was out at that show that day, and that's there. So that was my very first art show that day. So, anyway. So that was, you know, that's kind of my, you know, drawing from memory of Tony. So.
You did a pretty good job there.
Yeah.
Yeah, not for seeing him for, you know, so long. I mean, it kind of sort of looks like him, you know. You know, now that I've looked at the photos of him, you know, I need to add a little bit of roundness and weight in his face. And I think he's got his eyes generally, not bad.
Very good.
Yeah, but the eyes and the nose and the little mustache, you know, I think I got down pretty well. So. But anyway, that's my memory. So evidently I've got a little bit of memory left.
That's right.
Yeah. All right.
Well done.
4:09. All right.
Okay.
Anybody got anything we need to talk about before we move on to the next thing?
No, but I will not see you tomorrow. I
You won't?
don't know. So.
Okay. Well, I will be here at Benson tomorrow. And I will be, you know, we'll have the class at 10 o'clock. Okay. And then the rest of the day, excuse me, I will spend digging around through here, finding artwork and trying to figure out what needs to be done to it. A lot of you maybe came in a little bit later. Why I'm here right now is I'm trying to accomplish, you know, my main goal is separate out the artwork that I've got here, try to catalog it, and then contact people and try to get their artwork back to them. Okay? So that's what I'm going to try to do over the next couple of days. So if you get an email from me saying, hey, I've got a painting of yours down here, that's fine. Just let me know, you know, if you can come by. And we're not doing a come by, come in. You know, it's a come by, drive through. You know, let me know when you get here, and I will come out and I will bring your artwork to you. Okay, because they're really trying to limit the number of people, you know, coming in and out of the building. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So, but yeah, tomorrow morning I will see you guys at 10 o'clock, and I've got some things lined up for you to draw. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All righty.
So,
See you later.
Thank you and good afternoon.
all
Good
right.
afternoon.
Thank you. Bye.
Hasta mañana.
Hasta mañana.
De nada.